Next on CTN News.
In recent years, we've noticed that there's a real disconnect between that name and what we really do.
A local organization that helps people get around makes a name change. We'll explain. Plus, the Element Teen Center expanding its programming in 2015. We'll have the details, but first...
We may just be teammates to everybody else, but we're brothers.
The Cardinal football team rallies around a teammate diagnosed with a rare brain disorder. That tops CTN News this Friday, October 17, 2014. Thanks for joining us. After some hard hits in the team's first game, Easton Sorensen lost vision in his left eye but kept on playing.
But several doctors' visits that followed would change his life forever. CTN's Joe Nelson takes a closer look at what happened and how it's making the bond between the Brotherhood of Cardinals even stronger.
It worked out all the time. Did whatever I could.
Over the past 7 years, Easton Sorensen of Coon Rapids devoted much of his life to the game of football. His senior season began at home facing Elk River. With the eyes of college scouts on him, Easton was ready for a big year. The sky darkened as the clock ticked down, but the bright lights weren't enough for Easton.
It's pain. It's just temporary. It'll go away, right? And so I dealt with that and played over half the game without vision in my left eye. The next day they ended up sending us to one doctor, and he sent us to another, and every doctor kept saying, no, well, you're not going to be able to play anymore. Instead of, maybe going blind during that game, I could have been paralyzed. It was kind of hard to deal with right away.
The Sorensen family soon learned more than they had ever hoped to about Chiari malformation.
It's something I was born with and developmentally over time. Well, my skull quit growing and my brain kept growing, and it forced my cerebellum to drop down into the spinal cord cavity, and it cut off circulation of my spinal cord.
Football was not the cause of his Chiari, but helped him discover he had it. In late September, Easton underwent surgery to release pressure in his brain and says had it gone unnoticed, another form of head trauma later in life could have led to paralysis, blindness, or even death.
And everybody says football is their life. Football is everything that they're about. And, not many people can say that actually saved their life.
Just that quick give up the middle.
Easton has stayed connected with the team, watching the games from his hospital room and feeling the support from family, friends, and the Brotherhood of Cardinals.
There's not been one day that we haven't had his teammates here, his coaches here.
Our entire community has really rallied around him.
I've been down there as many times as possible, just bringing him food and Taco Bell and stuff, and just making him feel like he's still part of the team.
It's something special. It's a bond that can't be broken.
Easton could be released from the hospital as early as today, and other than not being able to play contact sports, he's expected to have no lasting damage. He's hoping to attend the Cardinals playoff game next Friday in Maple Grove, and we'll have an extended version of this story in the November edition of Community Close-Up. Stephen Karen.
All right, thank you. Looking for that version coming up. Appreciate it. The investigation continues into a security breach that impacted hundreds of Dairy Queen locations, including one right here in Coon Rapids. Late last week, DQ officials confirmed 18 Minnesota restaurants were breached by cyber thieves using malware, which exposed cardholder names, credit card numbers, and expiration dates. In Minnesota, the transactions in question all occurred in August at 18 different locations, including the Coon Rapids Boulevard store and the Dairy Queen at 127th and Central Avenue in Blaine. For more information, log on to our website.
The City Council is expected to vote next week on a new vendor to take over the operations at the Harvest Grill at Bunker Hills. Last week, the city interviewed 5 potential vendors, including Lancer, Prom Ballroom, Tri-City Catering, the Bill Morrissey Group, and the Break Bread Hospitality. The new vendor is expected to take over operations on November 3rd. Potluck Catering, which had run the Harvest Grill, has had financial difficulties in the past 2 years and recently defaulted on its lease. It currently owes the city more than $78,000. Majestic Oaks Golf Club in Ham Lake has been sold. The Star Tribune reports the buildings and more than 394 acres of land sold this week for $9.8 million. The club was sold by a Florida-based company, which sold off 47 other golf properties across the U.S. The paper reports the new owners will continue using the property as a golf course and club.
The Element Teen Center will be expanding next year thanks to a bigger budget in 2015. The city is setting aside more than $23,000, which is nearly double the amount of money spent this year. The Teen Center is scheduled to be open 5 days a week instead of the current 3 days. Friday nights, the Teen Center would operate out of the Coon Rapids Ice Center. There would also be a small admission fee added. The city will be operating the program in its entirety on its own in 2015. Previously, it was a function of the Anoka-Hennepin Community Education Department with funding from the city. Lights will be installed on 2 of the Little League fields at Sand Creek Park. Last week, the City Council approved a loan agreement with the Coon Rapids Andover American Little League in the amount of $135,000. The lights will allow for future growth of the league by allowing for night games. However, the lights must be turned off by 10:30 p.m. The Little League will pay back the city $10,000 a year starting in 2015.
Well, some good news on the job front in Minnesota. Employers across the state added 7,200 jobs in September, dropping the unemployment rate to 4.1%, the lowest level since 2006. So far this year, 23,000 jobs have been added in Minnesota. Most of the gains in September were in the professional and business services and leisure and hospitality fields. Minnesota's unemployment rate is well below the national average of 5.9%. Free to Be, a local nonprofit making sure families can get to work, school, and stores, has changed its name.
The organization says the previous name caused some people not to get the help they needed. CTN's Bao Vang explains.
From the name Free to Be to Cars for Neighbors, the organization hopes to eliminate any more confusion about what it provides for Anoka County residents.
Years since the nonprofit stopped providing daycare services and focused on fulfilling transportation needs, it says it is time to rebrand itself.
Cars, obviously, because what we do is fix cars and we give them away. And when we looked at who we serve, we really realized they truly are our neighbors.
Executive Director Jim Huff says since 1999, more than 4,000 neighbors have benefited. Almost 900 vehicles were donated and over 3,500 cars were repaired. Carolyn Feltz Buick is one of them.
It started being real sluggish where it would roll over to start up.
A faulty pressure switch would have cost a 71-year-old about $200, but on her fixed income, she didn't know where she'd get the money. That's when she applied and was eligible to have her repair done for free through Cars for Neighbors.
So not only my car got fixed, but my heart got fixed to know that there's generosity out there.
Jim Huff says now with a clearer name for the organization, even more people will be able to find them, whether it's to donate a vehicle or receive a car.
We really see ourselves as that stopgap to try to keep people from sliding into homelessness and really try to live that independent, self-sufficient life that our founders envisioned back in 1999.
In Ham Lake, Bao Vang, CTN News.
Cars for Neighbors is holding a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Tuesday, October 28th at the Meineke Car Care Center in Ham Lake to celebrate its name change. Meineke partners with Cars for Neighbors to provide low-cost repairs. Still to come on CTN News, human trafficking convictions on the rise in Minnesota.
Plus, the Halloween capital of the world gears up for several big celebrations. Also ahead, in need of a pumpkin for the big day? You don't have to travel far. Details on this local pumpkin patch coming up.
This will control how much syrup goes into the bottle.
And it's a blast from the past where you can find bottled soda in the North Metro when we return.
CTN News. Steve Erickson, Karen Savanich, your local edge.
Growing awareness about the problem of human trafficking appears to be paying off.
The number of convictions in Minnesota more than doubled between 2012 and 2013. There were 31 reported human trafficking convictions in 2012. Just 1 year later, that number spiked to 63. Most of the victims reported by service providers are female, 321, compared to 70 males who were victimized. 76% of service providers report working with sex trafficking victims who are U.S. citizens. 22% are international victims. State officials say the numbers are still an underrepresentation of the extent of the actual problem in Minnesota.
Candidates running for several state House seats will take part in another public forum next week. This one will happen next Thursday from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. in the Legacy Room at Anoka Ramsey Community College. Candidates taking part include Jerry Newton, Peter Perovich, Peggy Scott, and Mark Uglum. The panelists will discuss a range of topics, but the main focus will be on the issues identified by the college's environmental sciences class. The public is welcome to attend.
A Blaine man is savoring the sweet success of a new business venture. Jesse Hopkins opened Whistler Classic Soda this summer. He makes vintage-inspired gourmet sodas in returnable glass bottles in a warehouse in Forest Lake. Hopkins, who's an assistant principal by day, dabbled in home brewery as a hobby, which has now turned into a second job.
It's a pretty incredible feeling sometimes to step back and see starting a brand that it was from nothing, you know, and now I can go into a couple of stores and there it is for sale. So yeah, it's a pretty cool sense of accomplishment.
Right now, about 20 retailers are selling the bottled soda. The factory in Forest Lake is also open to the public every Saturday. For more information on Whistler Classic Soda, check out this month's edition of Community Close-Up.
If you're looking for a fun family activity outdoors, you don't have to travel too far. The Anoka County Farm is easy to get to off Bunker Lake Boulevard in Ham Lake, and they're celebrating their 8th season with a great pumpkin that weighs nearly 1,500 pounds. There is a charge for admission on weekends, but during the week it's free, along with other fun things to do.
The pumpkin bowling and the pumpkin tic-tac-toe and pumpkin checkers. We also have a petting zoo that's free. And then the activities that cost something, it's $2 for a hayride, and the bounce house and the big slide, that's $2. And we do have pumpkin painting, which is $3.
With 20 different varieties of pumpkins to choose from, you can pick one out to take home. Anoka County Farms is open daily through October 31st until sunset. For more information, log on to their website.
Excitement is brewing in the Halloween capital of the world now that we are just 2 weeks away from the big day. There's plenty of events going on in Anoka leading up to Halloween. Tomorrow night, the Light Up the Night Parade takes place at 7 p.m. The parade goes down Main Street between 1st and 5th Avenues. Then on Friday, October 24th, it's the Big Parade of Little People starting at 1:15 p.m., featuring school children in costume. And on Saturday, October 25th, it's the largest and longest running parade in Minnesota. The Grand Day Parade begins at 1 o'clock and winds its way through downtown Anoka. More than 150 floats and several marching bands will take part.
And there's also quite a battle brewing at the weekend box office, Howie Shapiro explains in this week's Now Showing.
You think it can't get worse, it can, and it will. The dying's not done, the killing's not done. I promised my crew a long time ago I'd keep them alive.
Fury, outnumbered and outgunned, a sergeant in the 2nd Armed Division and his men face overwhelming odds in their heroic attempts to strike at the heart of Nazi Germany.
It will end soon, but before it does, a lot more people gotta die.
Well, you know we do get $1.35 a day, right? Best job I ever had. Best job I ever had.
Best job I ever had.
Me, you need to see something special. All the world is made of stories, and all of those stories are right here in the Book of Life.
The Book of Life. Manolo, a young man who is torn between fulfilling the expectations of his family and following his heart, embarks on an adventure that spans 3 fantastic worlds where he must face his greatest fears.
I know exactly what to play. You got what I need.
Wow, that totally captivated her.
The Best of Me. A pair of former high school sweethearts reunite after many years when they return to visit their small hometown. Kill the Messenger. A reporter becomes the target of a vicious smear campaign that drives him to the point of suicide after he exposes the CIA's role in arming Contra rebels in Nicaragua and importing cocaine. I'm Howie Shapiro, and that's what's showing.
All right, thanks, Howie. We'll see if any of them can beat Gone Girl. That's doing really good.
Well, I think Fury's going to do all right, too.
All right, we'll see.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Join us again next week.